Hey, Scott Schrader here with WeAreSC.com and On3. And Sunday night, we had our subscribers at WeAreSC submit questions for our weekly Q&A. And this week, we decided to do a video version of it to provide an opportunity for our YouTube viewers to kind of see what we have going on the website. And most of it's going to be focused on recruiting, but there will be a few football questions and so on. We actually have another show that we do on YouTube that is dedicated to the football team. So this Q&A is typically not really focused on team stuff. So we'll get going here quickly, and we'll start off. There was a question about Deuce Robinson and when he could potentially announce his school choice. And the answer was he still has a couple of official visits left. He's going to go to Alabama this weekend when they play Texas A&M. And then he will be going to Oregon November 11th. So if he does take both of those official visits, I don't expect him to announce a school choice now. It's not, at one point we thought that he could be any minute now type of deal. I don't see it happening until December now. So the one thing that we've been talking about on the site is that we do feel very, very confident in our USC prediction for Deuce Robinson. So anyway. The second question had to do with special teams, and it had to do specifically with the kicker not kicking the ball out of the end zone. And then, our answer is that's just really going to be a recruiting issue. That's really not, I don't think that's a coaching issue. The kickers that USC has have been on the team for a while now, and it's just maybe they just don't have the leg to be able to kick the ball out of the end zone. But there was another question about special teams. It wasn't specifically about special teams, but it was about what was the biggest surprise from the ASU game. And honestly, it was how poor the kick return game is. USC's best field position was when the ball went out of the end zone and USC didn't return it. There were a couple of instances where there were some blocking in the back penalties on Kyron Ware-Hudson, and USC started, at least inside the 15, if not inside the 10-yard line. So, at this point, my recommendation is just fair catch the kickoffs. Obviously, now that you have Raleek Brown back there, and you put Mario Williams back there's an opportunity for these guys to maybe, really improve your field position, but you have to balance that out with what's going on and what we've seen through 5 games, and it's really not that impressive. What is the biggest concern, points of skepticism recruits' parents had coming into this season? The players and the parents. And what skepticism still exists among the recruits, parents, and oftentimes their high school football coaches. And I don't recall hearing any concerns anymore. There were some coaching staffs that had, multiple elite prospects that were telling their kids to really not look even at the Pac-12. This wasn't even a USC thing. It was just, look at other conferences, because that is where the best competition is. That's where you're going to play against the best players. On top of that, USC wasn't developing players, so that was the mark against USC. But all of those concerns are no longer present, and it's interesting to hear how the coaching staffs around Southern California specifically are talking about this current coaching staff at USC, and the conversation is no different when I go out of state. Everybody knows who Lincoln Riley is. Everybody knows what he's accomplished at Oklahoma. 11.5 wins this season. He's gone to the playoffs a couple of times. And USC right now is trending towards being one of the 4 playoff teams. The only thing that is going to be tough is when they go to Utah. I think UCLA is going to be a lot tougher than people think. You're going to, that game is at the Rose Bowl. Those have been tough games, the last 10 years for the most part at the Rose Bowl. And then you got Notre Dame. And, nobody knows how that game's going to go. I would be surprised if USC didn't beat Notre Dame this year, but again, you play the games for a reason. But currently with USC's schedule, it's really quite favorable. If they get through Utah, man, the sky's the limit on where USC could go this football season, at least up until after the postseason. I'm not quite sure USC's ready to play with Georgia, Alabama, and Ohio State, but I think it'd be fun to find out if they continue to win. Will the coaching staff, USC coaching staff, be at the St. John Bosco Mater Dei game? And the answer is yes. There will be a representative there. I don't know how many, but USC will be present at the St. John Bosco Mater Dei football game on Friday night at the Santa Ana Bowl. Somebody asked, I believe you said Peyton Woodyard probably won't commit until the end of the season. What other teams are in play for him? I know Notre Dame was the favorite early on, and I don't really, Peyton hasn't revealed what his top schools are. If it's USC, Ohio State, Notre Dame, if there's other schools that are involved. I do think that USC from a year ago has made significant ground. I do think a good USC football team, watching the defense play the way they currently are. I know there's been some frustration in the first halves of some of these games with USC giving up a lot of yards, some big runs, and so on and so forth. But the bottom line is especially this past week, Arizona State had 100 yards rushing in the first half. They ended up with 88. That means a lot of good stuff was happening in the backfield, whether it was sacks, tackles for loss, and so on in the second half of the ASU game. So the defense has been playing around. Guys are talking about linebackers, DBs flying around. You've got the guys that are pressuring the quarterback. So overall, I think if you're looking at this from a recruit's perspective, the USC defenses look pretty good. USC doesn't have the personnel that some of these programs have. But I'll tell you what, those guys are playing hard and they look like they're well coached. So, do you foresee more scenarios like Elijah Page occurring where committed kids are rethinking their commitments because they see their current school struggling? I think that's kind of the nature of the beast with recruiting. Like every year we see that. Currently through 5 games, I don't have anybody that I can name, but I would be surprised if USC keeps winning and some of these other programs start faltering, and maybe there's some talk about coaching changes and so on. That I think there could be some guys coming into play right now. But currently, I get asked about Francis Mauigoa all the time. I don't think that that's a realistic option. So typically when people ask about those scenarios playing out where a committed kid ends up looking at USC on the back end, Francis is always the first guy they ask about. So I don't see Francis Mauigoa ending up at USC currently. You never know. Somebody asked what was going on with Warren Roberson. At one time, I thought that he was going to commit to USC, and then kind of the longer that we went without an announcement, I think the chances decreased for a variety of reasons. And I think I made a prediction for TCU like 4 or 5 days ago. So, I think right now that USC's on the outside looking in on him. Again, I think things might change, but at the same time, I think that Roderick Pleasant is a top priority for USC. And, I think if Malachi Crawford and Roderick Pleasant are 2 guys they bring in, and let's say Dalen Austin, currently committed to LSU, becomes a guy that they have an opportunity to get, I think that Dante would be happy with that recruiting class. But again, we have quite a few weeks until signing day. There's still a lot of recruiting left. There's still guys that could call up and say, hey, we have interest in USC. We want to come for a visit. Can USC land Jordan Lockhart and Kingston Biliamu Asa? And based off the conversations I've had, absolutely yes, they can. Even though Gary Bryant Jr. is redshirt, is he still out there practicing? Of course he's out there practicing. He doesn't quit football. He just decided to redshirt. We do believe this will lead to a transfer after this season. But Gary Bryant is going to practice every day and working his ass off, just like he always has and always will do. This is not someone that you have to worry about as a coach as far as the effort that they're putting in. I don't know what all went into him not getting the reps that we all thought that he would get. But yeah, he's practicing. How did DJ Peavy enjoy the visit? He was, for those that don't know, DJ David Peavy from Lincoln High School in San Diego, in Edge, was at the ASU USC game, and I haven't had an opportunity to talk to him yet. I do think USC is strongly in the mix for DJ with Oregon and Washington. I believe he still has an official visit left to Washington. So look for him if he's back at USC again for another game. Then we're starting to get to that time of year where actions speak louder than words, and if kids start showing up to games, start showing up on campus on maybe on a weekday or whatever it might be, that's a pretty strong sign where their interest is. If I had to guess, do you think Jason Mitchell, he's a 2024 athlete from Gardena Serra High School. His father, Jason Mitchell, was a receiver at USC, played for Pete Carroll. Is he going to reclassify? And right now, I don't know. And if I had to guess, I would probably guess no. But he has not told me, whether that's definitive or not. He came out on social media maybe about a month ago that reclassifying to the class of 2023 was an option. Plan B for Warren Roberson. I think the two guys USC is clearly after right now are Roderick Pleasant and Dalen Austin. Those are the two cornerback targets that they're pursuing heavily. Scott, do recruits ever comment on the inability to sell out the Coliseum? They used to. But it wasn't about selling out the Coliseum. It was like having anybody show up in the Coliseum. I think now the kids are actually excited about the atmosphere on game day. They're pretty pumped up. Even guys from out of state that are used to going to SEC games and games of the Big Ten where they sell out and have 100,000 people. The atmosphere at the Coliseum is pretty good right now. So that is not a problem. And at some point, the USC is going to be selling out every game. That's just, that's what happens when you win football games. Even in Los Angeles. Who are the coaches you are most impressed with recruiting wise? I'll tell you what, let me just start off with this. This entire USC coaching staff and support staff is as good as they get. They were really good last year. They just didn't have quite the budget that they currently have. And they didn't have the head coach either. So, but two guys that are really, really doing a great job. And it's not easy recruiting some of the guys that are after is Brian Odom and Roy Manning. But, Dennis Simmons and Kyle McDonald have kind of been done for a while. And I'm not even sure that they're pursuing anybody right now. I haven't gotten the latest on that, but Josh Henson's going to close strong. Look, when we did this Q&A, that was before Elijah Page had announced his commitment, and I do think that Caleb Lomu from Highland High School in Gilbert, Arizona, is another one that USC has a very, very, very strong chance of getting, and he will be coming for an official visit in the upcoming weeks. How much more fun is your job compared to, let's say, just 12 months ago? The answer was, it's always more enjoyable when you all care, when your interest level is high, and it currently is. So I really haven't changed my approach any. I'm still kind of going out and seeing everybody in person. That's kind of like what we like to do. Get to know the guys, get to know their families if possible, and the coaches that are a part of their lives. But, right now, interest is just sky high on recruiting and for the football team. So we want to thank you for that. We greatly appreciate it. I always finish with this too. Thank you, Brandon Sosna. Anyway. What's the scenario where TA doesn't commit to SC? When they ask about TA, we people on our site like to use initials. They don't like to spell out names apparently anymore. And TA is T.A. Cunningham from Los Alamitos, a 5-star defensive tackle for the class of 2024. I just don't think he's in any hurry to make a school choice, but I do think that just the fact that he's had opportunities and will have more to spend time with this coaching staff on campus at games, and he'll have some very familiar people at USC. I think that's very big positive for USC, obviously, but he's in no hurry to make a decision. That's just my impression right now based off talking to him. Question about the last 2 emojis. Okay, Lincoln Riley puts these things up. I've lost count of those, so I don't know who. I think USC's had a bunch of commitments since the last bunch of those things. Do you see USC getting a visit from Samson Okunlola and getting firmly in the mix for him? I hit him up last week and asked him if he could potentially take an official visit to USC based off an article that Chad Simmons from our On3, our beloved On3 national analyst Chad Simmons had talked to him and done a story, and he mentioned that USC is still talking to him and that there's some interest there. So I hit up Samson myself, and he said he may be on taking an official visit. Firmly in the mix, right now I would say no. Are we still in contact with Francis Maui Go? Oh, they're in contact with Francis, but we are. We already talked about him earlier in this video. Who's going to replace Travis Dye? Well, I think that this is going to be an off-season topic. They're going to lose Travis, and I'm pretty sure they'll lose Austin Jones as well. So, they've got Ray Leak and they've got Darwin Barlow, but USC is going to hit the transfer portal for running backs. And honestly, the sky's the limit there, right? The USC running game looks pretty darn good. Do you think we finished with the top 5 class? Well, I'm not Nostradamus. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if USC is going to finish 12-0 and what the results of that with recruiting could potentially be. But I don't see. I'm not seeing a scenario right now that seems realistic where USC is going to end up with the top 5 recruiting class this year. Next year, absolutely. Any current commits to USC that seem to be looking elsewhere? No, I don't know of any. Do you ever look at some of the players on the opponent's teams and think, I hope he jumps into the transfer portal and comes to USC? Well, my reply to this one is at one time, or I should say for 2 years straight, I did that every day with Bryce Young. I love Bryce Young. I love his family. I love everything. That was one kid. There are certain kids that I watch play high school football that I would pay to watch play high school football, and he was one of those guys. Zach Branch is another one. If the USC staff could pull a hat trick and get commitments from 3 elite recruits, which recruits would you guess them to be? Well, this is my deal on guessing. Guessing leads to nothing but bad outcomes. So I'm not going to guess on that. But anyway, that's kind of what we do each week. Usually, we like to do this on Sunday. Sometimes we do it earlier in the day on Sunday than others. But we just let our subscribers ask questions, and we do everything possible that we can to provide answers, that are informative and provide some perspective that maybe, not everybody else is able to provide. So anyway, that is the WeAreSC. We call it 10 questions because if I'm lazy, which is not that often, but it does happen. If I cut it off after 10 questions, I don't feel guilty. So we call it 10 questions, but it's typically 25 to 30, it seems like. But, it's fun because I think this is a feature that a lot of people enjoy. So hopefully you all enjoyed this segment, and we're going to be much more visible on YouTube going forward. Thank you.